Welcome to How's Your ePresence? I'm Mark Galvin, your host and founder of ePresence. Thanks for joining us. We're glad that you're with us here on How's Your ePresence. We talk about social media. Today's episode is our news update. This is our quick 10-minute broadcast that hits current events in social media. And as always, joining me for our news update is our Director of Social Media, Eric Welch. Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
I am, well, I'm doing okay. It's this weekend kind of stunk. So, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's some bad news and some things that have happened that's really kind of somber, but we'll get to that. But before we get rolling, I just want to remind all our listeners, hey guys, would you rate us on your podcast channel, especially iTunes? Send us your thoughts or feedback to my handle as well on Twitter or everywhere is at ePresenceMG. ePresence, M for Mark, G for Galvin. And you can use that handle everywhere. So Eric, we have some bad news that happened yesterday. What happened yesterday?
Some very unexpected sad news came across East Coast time. It was mid-afternoon that there was a helicopter crash in Southern California that unfortunately took the lives of basketball legend Kobe Bryant, his daughter, a very prominent baseball coach, Joe Altobelli, and his wife and daughter as well. And then there's some other people. I mean, so it's still a developing story. So,
and it's so developing. Just a quick correction. It's John Altobelli.
Oh, John,
so
sorry.
You're good. It's all right. I just want to make sure we had that in there right. His wife, Carrie, and daughter, Alyssa, were aboard the helicopter. There are some other folks, the names haven't come out yet. It appears that Kobe's daughter, Gianna, and Alyssa played basketball on the same team. So, this sounds very common to me. I will tell you, I've got 3 kids. They play a lot of sports. I got to know parents of teammates of my kids. And so this is just a normal outing in so many ways, except they were using Kobe Bryant's helicopter to go back and forth. So a horrible, horrible story. And we don't really need to get into that as much as we probably could and could lament on that. But something happened on the social media side that you noticed. What did you notice yesterday?
Well, when the news broke, when I first heard about it, the first place I went was Twitter, and I was on my timeline basically the rest of the day. And with all the other events going on, the NFL Pro Bowl, the Grammys were last night, there was some political news that came out. It was a very crowded landscape in social media, but the main topic was Kobe and people tweeting their thoughts and memories of him and photos and videos and mixed in with news reports coming out about it. But then every once in a while,
which before you go on, I will tell you, that's the most beautiful thing about social media. Everybody can express remorse and how how Kobe touched them. And I think that's honestly, it's one of the greatest things about social media. Everybody has a voice. Everybody can weigh in and share that with the global community. It's very cool. But anyway, In the middle of that, you saw what?
Yeah, and just one more thing on what you just said. I'm a big sports fan, so I follow a lot of sports writers and personalities and athletes and teams, etc. And to see the outpouring of happy, good, fun memories of Kobe and the video, and it's all with this personal touch from just about everyone you can imagine. It was good to see, and it just made what was already an emotional time, an emotional day, even more emotional. But it kind of balanced out the weight of the bad news.
It shows how human we are.
Exactly.
Right? We appreciate humans and the fragility of life. All of that goes with that. It's all
exactly
spot on.
But going back to what your last question was, what I did notice, and it wasn't that much, but it was a little bit. It was enough to notice. There were a few accounts, and I don't want to call anyone out, but there were a few accounts where they had what appeared to be a scheduled tweet that they had set up. Could have been Friday, Saturday, who knows? Could have been Sunday morning for all I know. But in the wake of the news, instead of pulling whatever that post was that was unrelated to anything else that was going on, it just looked out of touch They looked out of place. If they were promoting something or celebrating something, when it shows up on the timeline, one, it's going to get buried in all the news and no one's going to pay attention or absorb whatever it is that they're putting out there. And
Yeah,
two,
it's just bad timing, right?
it just bad
It's
timing.
embarrassing.
They look very out of touch. And it's just a reminder that if you are a social media manager or director or whatever title you have, when news breaks across with something this big happens, whether it's sports or politics or pop culture, anything, when it's this big, you need to clear the decks basically and reevaluate and check to see what do you have already scheduled, what is set to post, is it appropriate, is it something you might want to just hold it for a day, or maybe you just skip this one, maybe you had something great planned. Now's not the time because you're going to look out of touch and it's going to be out of place. And it's just being aware is so huge. And I know on a Sunday afternoon you might be out with your family or out with friends, or who knows, you're not buried in your work week, so your head might not be in the game. But when something like that happens, you have to just be aware and react accordingly.
And the negative thing is the impression everybody gets, but it could also be picked up by someone who wants to be critical of you and say, look what so and so saying in the middle of this very difficult time. So
Yeah, exactly. There's a big PR angle to that as well. It's not a good look.
yeah, speaking of not a good look, there are some people I notice posting on social media criticisms of with political views and or criticisms of the deceased, and I just think that that's bad form. And here's why: it's going to show up on your social media. It's going to be there forever. It will cause you damage. So, an example: it could ruin a friendship. It might keep you from getting a future job, or you know what? You could get fired from your current job if it's popped up on their radar and it's going to hurt their brand. So if there's for some reason in this case, if someone did not like Kobe or maybe didn't like what he stood for, whatever, saying something negative about him in the middle of all this is just bad form. We are all human beings. Social media really allows us to interact. I just urge all of you, if you're thinking about that, and you're not happy, you're not moved like everybody else, just turn it off. Go do something else for a while, because it's not going to help you to jump in the middle of that and say something that is ugly. And I see this in chat rooms a lot, but this happens a good bit, is that people will say something that's ugly in a chat room. You know what? This is the kind of day that remember, you're not in a chat room. You should hold your tongue and wait to say something negative. And you know what? You can say that later. Just don't say it in the middle of this kind of shock. The day, and everybody was shocked that this was such a horrible, horrible thing. Just hold your tongue. So, you got anything else on that, Eric?
No, I mean, you're exactly right. When emotions are so raw and there's still so much unknown about what happened and what caused it to happen and what the outcome is, it's best to wait. It's not to dive down the rabbit hole of some of the reporting, but there was a lot of information out there from some prominent news organizations that turned out to be false, that they kind of tried to get out there first with whatever information they had, and it turned out to be false. So it's best just to be cautious and plan accordingly.
Sure. There's one more thing that, and we're going to shift gears. We've got about a minute and a half that I want to mention, and this is TikTok's come up a lot in our recent podcasts, and that's not going to change. They had more downloads in 2019 than Instagram, and Snapchat founder and CEO Evan Spiegel even weighed in and said he thought that TikTok would overtake Instagram as the second most popular social media platform. Why? It's because it's more talent focused versus status focused. And I think we're going to continue to see that in 2019. Social media is trying to figure out a way to get away from the status focused motivations of each of these platforms. And that's just another good example of that. Do you have thoughts about that, Eric?
No, I think TikTok is a fascinating thing to watch. this year. I think they're trying to figure out what exactly they are, and they're evolving. And I think brands are trying to figure out how they can use them effectively.
Oh, that's a good point.
And
Yep.
I think sometime soon, someone's gonna get the right hook with them, a brand or a company or somebody, and it's gonna take off for them. And it'll be interesting to see how that company handles that, as well as how others, their competitors such as Instagram, how they react to it, and what if they make any adjustments to how they run things.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You could easily adapt Instagram and turn it into a TikTok-like function. And Instagram's done that. I mean, they borrowed some of the things that were popular from Snapchat, and implemented them into Instagram. So, who knows? Let's keep an eye on TikTok this year. Well, Eric, we're out of time. This is our quick 10-minute update, and so we're officially at 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So, thank you for jumping on the call with us today. We hope that you find this information helpful. We're always trying to help you do a little better job on social media. Remember, you can find us at ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me, because it's all about you. Remember this, we manage here at ePresence. We clean up the CEOs and the entire executive suite social media platform and footprint. We can drive the CEO's entire company's social media plan and execution. And finally, we help college students get ready to find the perfect job, do a better presence on social media. We can help polish resume. We can conduct mock interviews, the whole bit. If you're interested in any of our offerings, contact us at ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me, or give us a call, 404-939-8094. Thank you so much for listening to us today. Until next time, for Director of Social Media, Eric Welch, this is Mark Galvin. We will talk to you soon.